back to another episode of Crystal Lake Fishing. Tonight it is 11, the night before diving in the Keys. We're going to try to get revenge. We've been doing some training the past couple weeks, and I feel like right now I'm in the best dive shape that I've ever been in at the end of this summer. So we're going to go out into that big expanse and hopefully get on some great fish. See you guys out there. We're suiting up. Water looks like Gatorade. New motor looks sick, but you can see the flashers right there. Blue water, little wreck going on, little wreck action, first spot of the day. See if we can't get it done. Oh look, it's two conchs. Bye buddy.
Oh my god, it's so clear. You can see the wreck from here. Like clear as day.
Welcome back to another episode of Crystal Lake Fishing. As I'm recording this audio, I'm very tired. But we're gonna plug through this. So we're up in Marathon in about 120 feet of water at a wreck called Thunderbolt. And I've dove this a couple times on the channel, but this time we're actually, dropping to the wreck because we initially showed up here looking for big yellow jack and maybe kingfish coming through. Weren't seeing them initially, so I started taking drops to the deck. You can see their big permit there right there, which is annoying because they were out of season. But you'll see that right on the right-hand side, this cubera comes into view. And I kind of rushed the shot. I didn't want to chase it. I didn't have the breath hold to chase it. And I missed. With those cubera, though, the way it kind of works is that once you see them once, you're not going to see it again on the next drop. So I decided it was better to take the shot, take the long shot, than to not see it again when I try to come back down. I ended up missing, but that's how it goes. I've also sped up the way up on these dives because they are a little longer than most of my normal dives. Alright, so this next dive, we're dropping back down. I meant to take another drop down to the deck, but as I get closer and closer to the level of the tower, which is I think 80 feet, I start seeing a couple, big Spanish, some yellow jacks, and I kind of plane out. And as soon as I do, I see a really nice kingfish, but he kind of stays pretty out of range. But you can see me line up on him. He's like swimming through a couple of the yellow jack, but there's just no point in which I could ever get a shot on that. So I end up turning back, heading up. But you can see all those permit, big jack, I think they're big eye jacks. I don't actually know. But yeah, the way up is a little longer than my normal dives. Next dive is me kind of trolling. On my way down, I'm speeding this up too because I get like part way down and I've got my big double roller because we started seeing those kingfish, and I see this rainbow runner and I'm about to plane out and try to shoot this thing, and I've got this ridiculously heavy shaft, so I really should not have done this, but I shoot, nail it, but the shaft is so heavy that it just tears itself out. Wasn't very smart of me. Alright, so this next dive is going to be we're going to learn a lesson as a community, as a group here, which is I'm learning the lesson. I had my double roller rigged wrong. I had the shooting line rigged through the roller bands, which basically means that instead of breaking away, the shooting line is stuck between the bands. I was not aware of this because it's hard to tell from just looking on the outside of the gun. You have to actually check everything, and I didn't do that. So what ended up happening was, and you'll see it right now, come up onto this big school yellowjack, which is like what I'm going for. These nice sized big sashimi butter balls of beautiful, beautiful meat. And I pull the trigger on one as soon as the school gets close. and it takes my gun. Just straight up. Like, I don't really have much control. I'm trying to get back up. I'm down 80 feet. I can't be screwing with it. Luckily, the gun stayed attached to the float line system. So, you'll see me hit the surface.
My gun got caught in the float line.
And when I look back down, the gun is still attached to the float line, which I can't see from the surface. But you'll see it right there. I'm on the way down, and the jack has swam itself into the tower, and I could have gone and taken it out of the tower. I was just so worried about my gun that I wasn't even thinking about that. So I just cut my shooting line and made sure I had my gun. And then after that, we knew where the shooting line was sticking out of. We tried to do a couple recovery dives on the yellow jack, but wasn't really getting it out. We were pretty deep. So we switched spots. This is in about, I want to say the side of the ledge that we're on right now is the shallow side. That's about like 60 feet. And you'll see that drop off over out to my left. That's the deep side. And it drops off to about 80, 90 feet. And you'll see I start diving that deep side later in the day. But this time, I just kind of saw a mackerel coming through, so I'm looking for that guy. And I see him. Miss a lot of mackerel on this trip. I'm not even going to include all of them. I think I missed like 6 of them. So this is me just all the way on the deep side. Right off of the deep side, there was like another reef. So I was dropping down on that reef. This reef, the dive watch was marking, I think, 90 feet to bottom. And on this particular dive, I did something I would not normally do, but because of the size of the fish I saw here, this huge black grouper, you see him right there. He's a little out to my right at this point. And I see him, and I don't go to bottom and try to get him back to me. I freak out. It's like a 30-pound black grouper. And so I follow him with my gun and shoot top down. Now, I managed to get him in a good shot, but you see how he just runs my line through everything. Makes it impossible to take him out of the bottom, and when you're that deep, trying to get a grouper out of a hole, it becomes a mess. But we tried anyway. We spent like 45 minutes trying to recovery dive this thing, and then this dive happened, where it's probably like recovery dive number 6 or 7 for me. And I'm on my way down, and you'll kind of see how much of a mess this was. After this dive, we tried recovering it for 20, 30 more minutes, and we just couldn't get it. The current started to get worse, and it became just totally impossible. But you can see the shaft back there. You can see his tail and how deep in that rock he got. It was just kind of a lost cause, for me at least. With the amount of current and my breath hold, we didn't want to risk it anymore. So we ended up cutting our losses. We ended up switching spots after this to a shallower area. This area that we're in now is at about 75 feet. We dove from like 50 to 75 for the rest of the day because we wanted to make sure that if we did shoot big grouper like that and they rocked up, we would have more of a breath hold to be able to take them out. Because that grouper out in 90, we were not able to really have much bottom time. But this spot was weird because we were only seeing snapper, especially like a lot of small mutton snapper, way off the bottom. Nothing on the bottom, so it was really awkward to figure out like the position to shoot them, getting the right shot. I don't like these top-down shots, so I kind of would just float down until I was level with them. And then on this one of them actually gave me a good shot and stoned it. Feels good to get the first fish of the trip just like secured, be on the way up with it. And also let me know if like the speeding things up on the way up thing is like, if that's something you want to see more of.
But the mutton wasn't legal.
But yeah, you'll see the current got much worse throughout the day, so we were ending up doing a drift line system out the back of the boat so that we would have something to hang on to when we're diving these spots, because it was just so ridiculous. We used my float line for my gun and hooked it onto a cleat with the float at the end, so we were able to dive. So we switched to a new spot. We were actually on the way to another mark I had, and we started marking a bunch of bait and reef in about 70 feet. So we were like, all right, let's dive it. Ended up being really nice reef with a sand, like with a very clear distinction from the reef and the sand is like kind of a ledge. And so we were very happy when we hopped in, and I get to about 50 feet and this mutton just comes right up to me from the bottom. We were like, okay, like this is a good spot. Put the shot in it. I start trying to wrestle it up to the surface because we had seen a couple sharks right when we hopped in here. But it was the first of the target species that we had found in the trip that we were actually able to put a shot in. Very excited. It was a nice sized mutton for me. I don't ever get to shoot him. Braining him and making sure the meat quality be good. We made some ceviche with this guy at work the next day. Drove all the way back to Tampa. So this next dive was interesting. We were in only like 50 feet here. We followed the ledge up to the shallower part. We saw a black grouper from the surface, and Evan had not shot a black before, so I was gonna third person film him shooting it. You can see the black right there on the top of the screen. And I see this other kind of fish swimming around. I think it's a mutton, but I'm like, I gotta film Evan shoot this black grouper. You see that black grouper right there. He's lining up on it. So Evan puts this shot in the black grouper. It goes nuts. And this other fish comes in to check it out. And I didn't, at the time, I thought it was a Margate or something. But I was like, I'm definitely putting a shot in this thing. It ended up being way bigger than I expected it to be. And so we've got this kind of double issue where we've got both of the fish struggling on lines while we're both on the way up and fighting these things. It was kind of hectic. It was a little confusing, but it ended up being fine. I ended up swimming down to make sure that his black grouper, to brain it and secure it, so that, you know, he would have that first black. And make sure it was nice and dead. And then I turned my attention to my fish, and this is when I realized I had no idea what it was. I knew it wasn't on the list of species regulated by FWC, which meant that it's able to be shot, but it looked like just a big grunt. So I did some research afterwards, and that's what it is. It's basically a big grunt, same family as the white grunt. The meat was awesome, tasted fantastic. But we got 2 fish in one. All right, midday update. We got a nice mutton. Evan got his first black, and I shot this when Evan got his first. I have no idea what this thing is. Look at this thing. It's huge, whatever it is. I thought it was a mutton when I was down there. It was not a mutton. So yeah, we're gonna keep diving. This is the next dive. I forgot to turn my GoPro on until I got to the bottom. I was kind of looking at this rock where there was this nice Margate swimming in and out of it, but I didn't want to stick my roller gun in the rock because I didn't want to like cut my band or anything like that, especially not over a Margate. So I was being a little careful over what I was looking at and stuff. I ended up looking out to my right, and I saw a pretty nice little mutton. There's the Margate. But I ended up being not committed to the Margate, and I looked behind me, and I went for the mutton. Stoned it, and brought him up to the surface. It was on the smaller end. It was like a 19-inch mutton, and I normally wouldn't shoot fish that are just like an inch or two above legal, but because I never get to shoot mutton, I couldn't resist. So I grabbed this guy. So after that, I just kind of put the mutton on the boat and went back down to try to grab that Margate. Because I did still want the Margate. I was just more concerned with the mutton at the time. You see right under me is another mutton, but that one wasn't legal. And I kind of let him swim off to the left. And I look for this Margate. There he is in the rock. So I put a spear in him and I try to get him out of the rock before he gets all tangled up. Nice little fish. I love Margate. Underrated. So, got my Margate on my shooting line, and I'm on my way back to the boat, and I see a grouper from the surface. This is a red grouper, and we're on the Atlantic side. This was also before it got closed in the Gulf. But I see it, and I start drifting down towards it, because it's like squared, and it's facing me, and I hate that unicorn shot. So I'm kind of waiting for it to turn so I can get the perfect shot, like broadside. And of course I messed this up so royally. Perfect shot, and it just tears out. And I try to like keep track of it while I reload the gun and stuff, and then I lose it. I'm like unable to find it by the time I get my gun reloaded. It was because the shaft got stuck in the rock behind it, was why it was able to tear out like that. So then right after that, I'm diving, and I see this yellowjack, and I completely change the direction of my dive towards it, which spooks it, and I take a bad shot and miss. It was very sad I didn't get a nice yellowjack on this trip. I love yellowjack, especially for sashimi and like poke bowls and stuff. So we went in super shallow. I like checking out this ledge because I've gotten good fish out of it in the past, cubera and such. So I look in there, and no cubera unfortunately, but there are some nice mangroves. So I kind of wait, make sure that there's no bigger species and stuff, and then I turn my attention back to that nice mango. Wait for him to come out of the cloud of other fish, and I plug him. It's a nice Goliath on the way up. A little guy. Makes it kind of cool. So then we were going back out to Thunderbolt just to see if we could dive it again, see if that cubera was back, and there were just a bunch of bull sharks everywhere. So we decided that we were done. All in all, pretty successful day.
Woo! God damn! So Evan got his first black. Those bulls told us to f off, so we did. I think that's a wrap though. New engine runs great. Boat's back in the rotation for videos, thank God. We got our revenge on the keys. That deserves a fist bump, revenge.
Hold up.
Bro. Yeah, we're gonna head in. Fucking crystal clear blue water. It's only 4 too. You did good. All right, see you at the ramp. Should have come with us, man. What else we got? Oh, baby lionfish. Can't forget the last mang. Should have come with us.